Hi, this is Todd Curlis of Nova Southeastern University. This presentation will give you two examples of the self-paced, paper-based instructional units that you are asked to produce for EDD 8001. The first example is a simple, bare-bones approach to self-paced learning. You can see the entire lesson on the resources page of this course's WebCT site. It would help you to go through this lesson as a learner. Not only will you get a good feel for self-paced instruction, but you may also learn something about instructional design. Joe Harless is one of the important theorists and practitioners in our field. The first 3 pages are the pre-instructional activities. There is an introduction, information about the background of the course, and a discussion of the philosophy of the class. Notice that the designer starts out with a motivational tactic. The very first line of the instruction is, "The concepts and procedures taught in this course are difficult." He also says, "You could get lost in the detail." By now, he should have your attention. The objectives are presented in the second paragraph with the sentence, "This first dialogue of the course is designed to present an overall framework for the how-tos to come." The box on page 1 gives some information about how you should use the instructional unit, which Harless calls a dialogue. The first chunk, or cluster, begins on page 4. The objective it covers is, distinguish between performance-based and subject matter-based approaches. The initial content presentation is very short, just 4 paragraphs. And then right away there is a learner activity. In this case, a learner is asked to identify whether these titles are performance-based or subject matter-based. The learner is supposed to write P or SM in the appropriate blank. After the activity, which is also a practice test, we have the feedback, placed on a separate page. And then after the feedback is some more content presentation. As you can see, the practice does not always have to occur at the end of the chunk. Now we start a new chunk, indicated by a heading on a new page. The content presentation again leads directly into a learner activity. This format continues through the rest of the dialogue or lesson. This dialogue does not have a final assessment of the overall goal. This was the designer's decision. For the project in EDD 8001, however, the final assessment is required. The follow-through activity in this dialogue is a series of questions and answers about the process, how it is performed, and how it is used. This activity was placed there to help facilitate transfer from this unit to the following units in the series, and eventually to the learner's own instructional design practice. Here is a much more complicated example of a paper-based, self-paced unit that fits the criteria for a project for this class. This is a unit on making a paper crane using origami. This student packaged everything together in a box. Item 1 is a welcome letter, and Item 2 is a checklist of objectives and a little pretest on folding paper. These items cover the pre-instructional materials. The booklet here is the main instruction. Notice that there are short instructions, pictures, and plenty of white space to keep it from looking crowded. Within the instruction there are a couple of practice tests. As you can see, this can be done without having to involve an instructor. The designer also included the materials, which consisted of several sheets of paper cut to size. She could have told the learner to cut some pieces, but since she was sending the other things, she put them in too. Item 8 is the memory aid. It's a short, bulleted list of the steps for making the bird, without the detailed instruction. By the way, the final assessment was Item 7, not shown here. It was another sheet of paper that invited the learner to make another bird using the steps at a glance page only. Another thing to mention here is that the original version of the unit did not have these models of the bird in different stages of folding. The designer found out during the formative evaluation process that learners had difficulty understanding what the stages should look like, even with the illustrations in the booklet. So she decided to include the models to ameliorate that problem. This is a good example of the fact that you may not get the design perfect the first time. That's why we need to do the formative evaluation. This presentation has shown a couple of examples of the final project for EDD 8001. I hope this has been helpful. This is Dr. Todd Curlis. Thanks for watching.